everyone, and welcome to episode 131 of the Holding Court podcast. Today, we're going to recap our weekend. We will finish up on the birth story where we left off, and we're going to give an update for our foundation on the LA fire relief efforts. All coming up right now on Holding Court.
Bum 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 bum.
Hi.
Good afternoon.
Morning-ish.
Morning.
It is wild when you wake up earlier with a kid now, how sometimes it surprises me how early it is, because I'm not naturally a morning person. I never was. I know I said that was my New Year's resolution a couple years ago, was to become a morning person. Obviously not to this level, but now that you're waking up at, I don't know, 7, which probably seems really late to a lot of people, but in baseball world, that's very early. Sometimes I catch my time on my phone and I'm a little surprised at how awake and productive we are.
I actually think it's surprising on both ends because, yes, in the morning, I feel like we've been up for hours and I look and it's like, oh my God, it's only 10:30.
Right.
But then at night, you start Bo's like wind down routine and give him his bath and, change him and get him ready for bed. And then next thing you know, you look up and you're like, oh my God, it's only 9:30.
Right.
And we're already like ready for bed. Like, are we officially like becoming adults or what's happening?
Well, I hope at this stage in our life that we are adults, but yeah. And we went up early last night. We had a long day yesterday. We actually started our morning at Chris Taylor and his wife Mary's Polar Plunge event. We did not plunge into the polar. We had Bo with us, and logistically, I didn't know. I mean, he's touched his little toes into the ocean, but we skipped. We fully just didn't do it. I don't know. I feel like we should have, looking back, like we probably could have and should have, but we went to they had a really nice reception after and a concert where Brett Young played a couple songs and a live auction. And so it was nice to support. Chris has always been amazing at supporting us and Mary as well. So it's nice to be able to go to your old teammates' events and make sure we show up for them like they have for us for so many years.
For the record, I think we played it perfectly. It would have been a very long Sunday if we went for the morning dip, because I think we were the last people at the event, as usual.
We don't know how to. We go in and we always, like, you're driving there, and I feel like you do this with everything, right? Like, whether you want to admit it or not, like, you go to like a friend's birthday, you go to a family event, you go to a wedding, and you think, okay, hard out, 9 p.m. or whatever. You have this plan of action. It reminds me of like the 4 Christmases where they're like, their word is mistletoe, and when they say mistletoe, like they're out. Like that's their word, where it's like you hit the eject button and you go. And we always go in with such high expectations and such a strong plan, and we close everything down. I think Ellen Kershaw joked one year, she's like, honestly, you leave our events way after we do. We're long gone, and the Turners just close them down. And obviously it's long-winded, and that's part of it. It's also, you see people that you haven't seen in a while, and just, I don't know, it just happens. But you're right. We did stay. I think the event ended around 2 and we were there till 3. They were breaking down. They were striking the set and we were still there.
We were walking out and waiting for our car, and the tables and chairs were gone.
Which is fair, but you did. So the event was, everyone finished up the Polar Plunge. I think the family, like all the players and the wives, went and showered. They had an area for them to do showers, blowouts, everything, and kind of reset and come over for this luncheon. They did their live auction.
Do you think Glass now got a blowout?
I think he rolls out of bed with that there. So
I know. He needs to be on like a Troy Polamalu, like Head and Shoulders commercial.
That was the first time I've met him, and obviously I've known him for a few years watching him, but he's a very tall man.
I know.
I didn't expect that. Like, it's a big body. And I was like, I'm in, actually, his fiance, Megan, is in our fantasy football league. And so I've chatted with her. And that was actually the first time I met her. And then he came over and said hello. And I was like, oh, hello. Very tall human. I don't know. You have an idea when you watch someone, or even like I've been in person where he's pitched, but he's very tall.
Yeah. We were standing up. We were standing up for the whole event, like kind of off to the side. And after when everyone was like making their rounds, saying bye, hi, catching up.
Yeah.
I was like sitting on the back of a couch, and when he walked over, I started the conversation sitting on the back of the couch, and I'm like, I can't do this. Like, I'm literally looking straight up at the guy. And so then I stood up, and it wasn't any better. I was still looking straight up. I'm like, oh my God, like, you got no wonder I can't get a hit out of you. Like, you're literally throwing the baseball from the clouds. You're so tall. But no, it was good catching up with him.
Yeah, I didn't know he was that tall. But yeah, so I think it's also just baseball events in general, or even when you see like old friends, it's just hard to not take that time. And obviously you're not catching up during the event because they're talking about their beneficiaries. There's a live auction. And then Brett was playing a couple of songs. So you don't really have time during the event. So we closed it down. You also, part of the reason we stayed, actually, most of the reason we stayed later was you won a live auction item.
That's right.
Of a signed Brett Young guitar. And instead of him just doing the old Sharpie signature, he had it up in his room there at the hotel where the event was. And obviously he was going to personalize it to you. So we had to go get it. And then he's such a big baseball fan. Obviously he played baseball up until he did the music thing and pivoted. And honestly, if I wasn't there, I think the sun would have went down and you two still would have been talking.
Well, no, he had a 4:00 flight, so that would have been the end of it. But
you would have probably taken him to LAX. Like, that's where it would have ended up.
I probably would have dropped.
And then he said, he actually was so funny because I looked at my watch and he was like, I sense that you guys need to leave. He was like, I'm a parent. I know that like it's that time. And he was like, you guys got to go. Yeah. And then we did the Midwest goodbye, which a Midwest goodbye consists of 3 different goodbyes. You say goodbye in the kitchen, you say goodbye at the door, and then you walk out to the car, and then you're still talking. We kept doing that. It just, the goodbye kept going.
Yeah.
But it's so great to see him, and it's always fun talking with him. So
it was a good event.
They raised auction item.
They raised a lot of money yesterday. They did.
Yeah.
They crushed it.
They had really good auction items. They crushed it. It was fun. But it was a long day. And then by the end, we got home at, we're in the valley, so it's an hour to get home.
Yeah.
Got home, had lunch, and the Grammys were on. They were starting, and I didn't know they were 4 hours. I would like to say I would like the 4 hours back.
I don't remember the last time I watched the Grammys.
Yeah, I don't, it's weird because I want to say it used to be lots of different, it was a very eclectic performance. Obviously, they had some newer artists that I honestly thought were just TikTok songs. I didn't know that these songs had 4 minutes.
Man.
I know I sound really old, and I'm like, no disrespect. Obviously, like, music is changing and evolving, and my tastes aren't changing and evolving. So and they had some throwbacks, like they had Shakira up there. They had some artists from our generation performing, but
you just named one.
Who else was up there? Hold on, give me a second. Oh, Lady Gaga performed.
Yeah,
but Lady Gaga was unrecognizable.
She was in she was almost. It was funny you pulled up the picture of that painting.
The girl with the pearl earring.
Yeah,
her vibe,
and it was almost like she was trying to be like in character.
Yeah.
But that's her, she's like.
I just think growing up, the Grammys, it felt more like it would go more across generations. Like, I couldn't see like our parents watching the Grammys last night and knowing who anyone was. And I think it's just, I'm just.
Well, you knew old. Beyonce cleaned up for her country album.
Yeah. No, it was, yeah. I don't know. I'm just old. I don't know. It was wild.
It was hard trying to figure out who was who.
Starting with the red carpet and Kanye's wife, just full vag out. Just, I don't even know if they stayed for the Grammys.
They weren't invited.
No, but Entertainment Tonight reported that. I don't know if it was true.
Right.
I think they just went for the red carpet, but
we should just go for the red carpet.
I know what Kanye's wife looks like naked, and she was very close to that. I keep seeing pictures of her, like they go to Cheesecake Factory at the Grove, and she's in like pasties and a thong. I don't know. I guess you're allowed to just. Sorry. When you're recording, you just sometimes Moon wants to say hello. Yeah. I guess it's fashion. Again, I clearly am not up to date on the fashion and the music. But I did recognize a lot of the songs. I didn't know a lot of people's names. There was one point where I thought I don't know. I won't even embarrass myself. I thought someone was someone else and all that, but it was nice to hear the TikTok songs in its entirety. So let me know that I'm not old and
there is a real person behind some of those songs.
This is how some of you felt.
Those aren't AI generated, okay?
Don't make me feel completely alone and wrong here, but I don't know. I mean, I listen to like adult contemporary and like Kiss FM and Go Country and all that. So I didn't hear a lot of my classics on there, but
the performances were
all in
wild too.
Yeah.
They really went all out.
There was one where it was like a rager at the end and there were panties being thrown everywhere. I don't know.
The best part about that performance, though, was the little like disclosure on the end.
They said they were going to donate the unused panties, which I'm like, okay, great. And I did like the spin on like the love for LA. And I know we wanted to catch up on everything with the fires in LA. That was cool because it feels like the whole country is showing LA love right now. And I liked how they did the local business support. They had commercials that were supporting local florists, and they said all their food was done from, small catering companies and all that. I think it should always be like that. Like, what? I don't know.
The only thing I wish they would have done was kind of kept like a running tally and how much money they were raising, which would have been really cool. And like they were talking
like
about
telethon style.
Right. And they were talking about like all the big companies that were making donations like AEG and Crypto Arena and like all these companies are like, oh, we got another donation. And it would have been cool to like
show us
if they had like the running tally.
I know. I wonder if they're going to say, but it was nice. And I liked how they had the firefighters come out on stage and have everyone, stand up and applaud them and their efforts. And it was a cool tie-in for sure. And
they did a nice job of that.
Kendrick winning and his love for LA and all that. It was felt like a perfect tie-in. But we obviously took a couple weeks off. Didn't feel right doing an episode, obviously leaving some space for coverage on the fires and obviously everyone to just process it. And it's going to take years. It's obviously not something that, and coverage will stop and people will seemingly move on from it. But, we've talked and I think everyone's talked. This is not just like showing up for people right now. This is going to be months and months and months and years of rebuilding, if ever, and everyone's new normal. And so we actually had, you can speak a little about it, Justin, but we obviously posted our fundraiser a couple days after, where it's actually still active right now. We're matching donations up to $100,000. So thank you to everyone that has donated so far. I know it feels like everywhere you look, there's a fundraiser, and it should be that way because obviously people want to lift everyone up, but I know everyone's doing like a lot of giving and giving. So we're grateful for everyone that is doing that through our fundraiser, and whoever, like, obviously it doesn't matter who you're helping. Just make sure you're doing your research. It's going to the right place. Unfortunately, in times like this, there are some things that pop up that aren't legitimate. So just want to make sure everyone's doing their due diligence when they're donating. But if you want to speak a little, Justin, about what we did in Malibu, I want to say it was last week now. Yeah, last week. Obviously, we are supporting the Dream Center, what they're doing. We can touch on that. But if you want to talk about our Malibu event that we were able to go to.
Yeah, so I think, the irony in all this was going back to the food line in 2020 and COVID and the relationships we made and the phone calls we were making to local restaurants kind of, in turn came back to us and presented us with an opportunity to go out and serve and have an impact. Matt Giamella from RC Provisions, who donated tons of food, tons of sandwiches, tons of chili to the Dream Center and the food line back in 2020. Obviously, these events happened. He stepped up again and has made huge food contributions, not only to the Dream Center, but to relief sites all over Southern California where first responders are spending their nights on cots and parking lots and helping feed them. And he provided us an opportunity. He said, would you like to come down and help us serve? I got my chili, I got my brisket on the line with Chef Greenberg. And we'd love to have you out there. So, Kourt and I obviously, jumped at the opportunity and we went down to Malibu where they had their
base camp.
Base camp.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, 450 first responders, I think was the number. And, we stood in line and helped volunteer and serve a hot meal for them. Learned a lot. Obviously, we're extremely grateful for all the men and women who were going through the line. A lot of them just came straight off of what seemed like, battling whatever fights they were battling at the time. You could still see the soot and the ash all over their faces as they're coming through the line, which was, you're just like, man, these people truly are heroes. But having that opportunity and learning about, everything they've been through. Some of these people, some of these men and women had been there for 15 straight days, asking them where they're staying, and they're staying in little blow up mattresses in a parking lot without even like a tent over them.
Right.
And you're just like, no, like, holy cow, like, this is crazy.
You haven't said 72-hour shifts in the beginning. Like, they had no rest. It was wild to think. You don't, obviously know what they're doing, but you don't know the conditions that they're sleeping in and all of that. And it is, wow.
These heroes are basically, running into a fire, putting their lives on the lines, trying to protect people's, prized possessions, their homes, their valuables, everything that they know. And they're, some of them not sleeping. And when they are, they're getting a few hours on a cot or a blow up mattress in a parking lot and then waking up and going right back to it. So, I don't think we can ever thank these heroes enough. I don't think that we can ever repay what they've gone through and the fight that they've been in, to try to save as much as they can and salvage as much as they can from these devastating fires. So, it was an honor for us to just go up there and provide them with a hot meal. One of the other things we learned is, their food at the time was being provided by, a prison program where they would come up and set up a truck, and prisoners were in the truck cooking food and serving. And, honestly, we went in there and we met a lot of the guys and that were working. And the food looked fine to me, but when you have world-renowned chefs offering up their services to come in and cook up these huge gourmet meals, I think,
they just said it was a nice change of pace.
Right,
They said
right.
it's fine. It starts to all be kind of the same after a couple days. Like, they make kind of the same things over and over. So to kind of give a change was really nice. And, kind of, have something a little different. And it was a treat, obviously, for them to enjoy it.
And you could see it in their faces. Yeah. These plates were like
loaded up,
mountains of food. And they were.
I don't know if I was instructed a certain portion that I was not abiding by it. I was looking them up and letting them say when. And then when they said when, I was like, and another helping, because they need it. They need to fuel their bodies, and they've been through so much. And I think the really cool thing, one of the cool things learning on the line was where these guys and these men and women came from to help LA. It was, what was the furthest city you heard?
Well, one of the volunteers that was serving food with us was from New Jersey. He got on a plane from New Jersey and flew out and just wanted to help and volunteer. But as far as the first responders, there was guys all the way up from Tacoma, Washington, that had flown down. There was a lot of people on the West Coast. Apparently, a lot of stations had already gone home. They flew out to try to help get it contained in the beginning, but the stations that were still there were all the way from Bakersfield, San Diego, San Francisco, Sacramento. There was a crew there from Oregon. There was people from Tacoma, Seattle. So it was wild, hearing the span of geography that these first responders covered to come down here and help everyone in Los Angeles. And again, we can't even begin to thank you for all your efforts, because without you guys, who knows what would be left or what would have happened with these fires. So
cannot say thank you enough. And we also had another unique opportunity to go and thank more of the firefighters at Station 69 in the Pacific Palisades, which I'm sure you've seen it on the news and you heard about it. And if you want to talk a little about that and getting to go there. And I know everyone probably thinks the firefighters get excited to meet you and a baseball player, but obviously it was very exciting. These guys are celebrities right now and will forever be to us and our heroes. So I think we say this a lot with hospital visits and all that, and the meaning that, the kids get and the families get from meeting you or meeting people that come through there to visit them. But I think it always works vice versa. And sometimes I think more so on our side.
Yeah. So this was one time where it paid off that we are always the last people to leave, because we were still hanging around the food line while they were breaking down everything. And one of the LIOs, the information officer who, handles a lot of the media and the press, was one of the last ones through the line to grab a bite. And we got to talking, and he was like, well, do you want to, follow me? I can take you up and run you over to station 69 in Palisades. And we were like, oh my God, that'd be amazing. So we jumped in the car and we followed him, and we got up there, and the guys at the station honestly had no idea. I think a lot of them were actually getting ready for bed. The national championship game had just finished.
Yeah.
So there was maybe one or two guys in the kitchen when we walked in, and they were like, oh my God, no way. And one of the guys got on the bullhorn in the station and was like, you guys got everyone come down to the kitchen. And they all came down. And honestly, I mean, I don't know, we spent about an hour down there talking. And it was just cool to hear them tell their stories about, why they're such big baseball fans. And we got to FaceTime with some of their families and talk to some of the kids and say hi. And it just makes you think like, oh my gosh, like these guys have been on this fight now for 14, 15 days. You have no idea when the last time they even got to go home and see their wives and see their kids. Wife, not plural, one wife.
Never know.
And so
they usually made a comment to me. They were saying, oh, you have it similar where, Justin's gone all the time and you probably, and I paused and I said, absolutely not.
Right.
I think that Justin being away is where our similarities end pretty much for what your spouses go through and what you guys go through. But yeah, I was like, absolutely not. Very different experience, but
yeah, I mean, and it was cool. It was seeing a bunch of grown men who have just been in the thick of it, kind of, I guess, forget where they were for some time, and they got to, tell their stories and where they came from and their favorite memories, Dodger memories. And
there was a Padres fan there.
There was a big Padres fan. He pulled up his video and he showed me when he threw the first pitch at a Padre game. So
yeah.
But I like baseball fans. That's what I tell everyone when they say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm a Giants fan or I'm a Yankee fan."
Yeah.
I say, "Look,
it's fine.
I like baseball fans. Like you root for who you want to root for."
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
So.
And then they got into some of the stories about, everything that they'd been through and what was going on. And there was one firefighter there who told us he had lost 3 homes, his mom, his sister, and his home in Altadena, and they're displaced right now. And he was at his mom's house, this house was in the family for 60 years. And he was standing out front with a garden hose trying to save it and fight it off. And eventually he had to just, say, I'm not going to be able to save it and get out of there. And he did say he saved a bunch of animals. He rescued a pig. He rescued like 12 koi fish out of the koi pond. He was showing me all the animals he was pulling out of there before he took off. But even the firefighters who were fighting to save other people's homes were in turn losing some of their own prized possessions. So again, it's tragic. It's sad. It's going to take a long time to rebuild, but I know, in times like these, the city really shows its true colors, and seeing everyone come together and unite and donate and volunteer. And, it's pretty remarkable how kind human beings can be in times of need.
Yeah, definitely. And even our drive over there, it's something I will never forget. And I know everyone has seen the images on the news and on social media, but our drive down PCH to the fire station was, I don't even have the words, and even the area around the fire station, seeing the cars there, buildings that, we've known, restaurants, we went to, homes, everything just, it honestly looks like a bad movie. It was unreal. And I know those will stick with us for a while, and it is going to be a long road. But like you said, LA is resilient. People are resilient, and everyone's going to show up and continue to show up and support everyone going through this. And everyone, it's even us, like we're in the valley and we were not really near anything, but it's just the amount of people that were checking in on us from, our friends all over the country, and people just showing their concern. And there was one little moment where there was a fire near us in the valley, and I couldn't even wrap my head around it. And you try to put yourself in the minds of people that had to evacuate their homes, or they weren't home when this happened and they were at work, and they had family members or pets or something back at their house. And there was a moment where you said, we should pack a bag and we should go, because we just didn't know. There was so much uncertainty, and I couldn't even function. I couldn't even think about what to grab or what you grab. Because, everyone says, oh, have something ready and think of passports and this and heirlooms and this. And honestly, it was you and Bo and the dogs and our passports. And that was the only thing in my head, honestly. So I don't know. I can't even. And again, we were nowhere near at the same level of risk or anything. I don't even want to compare or say that I was in that same mindset. But in that moment, it's just, there's not a lot of words, and it's just heartbreaking, and our hearts are with everyone and doing what we can to support everyone going through this. So a big thank you to firefighters, first responders, everyone that's stepped up, donated their time, whether you have time, money, items, whatever it is, energy, putting it towards this effort has been amazing to see.
It's been huge. Yeah. Thank you guys.
Thank you. Thank you. Feels weird to shift gears, but we will. We're going to shift. I think the episode before last, we left you hanging on our the end of our birth story. So I didn't want to. Sometimes I say, "Oh, we'll talk about this next week," and then we never get back to it. So I made a point to leave a note that we would recap the end of our birth story that everyone was very interested in. So
where did we leave off?
Bo was born, spoiler alert, and the sun rose. We get into I think I talked about my shared recovery room and all that. Right. It was funny. A lot of people writing back saying, no, Kourtney, that was not normal. Like, you shouldn't have had, 2 epidurals. You shouldn't have had this or that, but it's fine. It's all I knew. So actually it was interesting. On 4th of July, when Bo was born, that was actually the day my mom was supposed to fly in, because that was going to be the start of your 12 day
right
West Coast road trip. Where you guys were playing, what was it? Seattle, San Francisco.
And then,
and Arizona.
The Dodgers.
No, Arizona.
Yeah, you're right.
And so my mom was actually going to fly in just in case I went into labor early. And then actually she ended up landing Bo was born at 5 a.m. and she ended up landing at 10. So my mom got there. She actually doesn't have international cell phone service. And so it was very interesting.
I forget
to navigate my mom getting in the airport. She somehow knew to get Wi-Fi in the airport. And then I actually sent an Uber and described her and just said, Mom, stand outside and this man is going to find you and take you to the hospital. And then Justin, I'll be able to track the Uber, which is wonderful, and see when the Uber pulled up to the hospital, and then you went downstairs and got her. And somehow it worked. So
it wasn't very smooth. The guy was reaching out to you 3 or 4 times, to the point where I was like, you know what? I'm just going to get in the car. I'm going to go get your mom.
Yeah.
It was not that easy.
I feel like I remembered it being very smooth. But
no.
I must have had the oxytocin.
It was not very smooth.
Going. And
it was honestly a miracle that this guy found your mom. And she made it to the hospital with no cell phone service, no communication to your mom at all. I don't know how this happened.
I don't know either, but it did. And she made it. And then she was there and she met her first grandbaby. So
yes.
The timing was wild, though, because when you think about, she was just coming to be there 2+ weeks early and then ended up rolling up a couple hours after Bo was here. So
yeah,
which actually it worked out. But so we were, I think I said looking back, I wish I stayed in the hospital for days because they obviously do everything for you. I mean, obviously, if I had my own little room, I don't know if I wanted to do the full 3 days with my bunkmate through the shower curtain, but trying to leave. And obviously, you had to get back the next morning because you guys were flying. You guys were actually going to Seattle, right? Yeah.
No, they had already left.
Yeah. So you were going to go the next morning. And so you wanted to make sure you took us home and got everything home and got us unpacked. Well, not unpacked. You just got everything in the door. But I will unpack at a later time.
We've unpacked 12 bags that we took to the hospital.
I know. It's funny. They said first-time parents show up looking like they're moving in. Second-time parents, a little less. Third parents just show up with a bottle of champagne and like their pillow from home and just, let's do this. But we were trying to get discharged from the hospital, and I was being, I don't want to say like bullied by the lactation consultant. She was like holding me there. And first of all, I don't even know her name. She smelled like a bar. She smelled like when you had a friend in college that sat down next to you and you just smelled the whiskey and you knew they went out late. Like that was like, it was so bad. And so think about you just give birth and then you have this lactation consultant all but sitting in my lap trying to get Bo to latch onto my boob. And she's just like hot hangover breath in my face. And I feel like we were doing great, but obviously like your milk doesn't come in for a couple days. I mean, I don't know, maybe it does for some people, but mine didn't come in for a couple days. Babies don't really need to eat the first couple days. You can obviously like express some of the colostrum and give that to them. But she was just like not happy with the result, or I don't know what she wanted from me. And she just kept saying like, well, you're going to have to agree to go visit this lactation place in Toronto and da-da-da-da-da. And I was like, okay, whatever, I'll do it. Like, that's fine. And she just would not sign off on us leaving for so long. And we were there. When did we end up leaving? Like 8:00 at night?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so finally she said, okay, if you agree to make this appointment, and I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever, I'll do it. Obviously it was important to me, but it was also important to me that my husband was able to take us home and get us home. So I wasn't doing that all solo. And this was the best part. Like, you hear about leaving the hospital and obviously you have to have a car seat. And normally I've heard they will go down to your car and make sure that it is installed properly. But that's always what I heard in the States. But leading up to having Bo, I was so worried because our car seat was a gift from Maddie, but it was from the States and it had the US seal on it.
Right.
Which Canada has different manufacturing, testing, whatever standards. I'm assuming just maybe, I don't want to say like more strict, but just their own set of standards. And so the car seat, everyone online and all these Reddit threads and everything was saying you wouldn't be able to use the car seat in Canada. They wouldn't let you leave, da 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 da. So I'm thinking, do I just go to whatever, I don't even know what's there, Canadian Tire is like their Target, like do I just go and like buy one, like do I whatever? And then it was a whole ordeal. They ended up saying, oh, as long as there is a seal from whatever country that car seat was manufactured, it's fine. Well, that would have saved me like hours and hours and hours of worrying about.
Literally hours.
I was thinking, I mean, I almost went online and like looked up a Etsy sticker of like the Canadian flag that I was just gonna be like, look, it's labeled in Canada. We're fine. We're approved. But I mean, they were saying if you were like crossing the border and you were leaving Canada and they checked your car seat, you could be fined, you could be ticketed, you could be, I don't know. It was terrifying. And so obviously it was like a huge ordeal, but they ended up.
It wasn't an ordeal at all.
No, it wasn't. But they were saying like they would like take your kids away from you.
Everything that you read was a horror story, and then when it came to the real life situation, they were just like, "Oh, cool, see you guys."
I don't even know. It's like no one even came to the car. I'm like looking. I don't know. So it was wild though. Bo being so tiny in the car seat, like he It felt like he needed like a mini
I
car.
also didn't even know, like I was trying to like strap him in and I had no idea what I was doing. No
Well,
clue.
it's wild because also everyone says your kids are never going to be in newborn clothes. Like, don't buy newborn clothes for someone's baby shower. They're going to start out in 0 to 3 or 3 to 6. It is all just don't even do it. So, like, I didn't even own, I think Kim got us a couple newborn sets, like the little gowns and the hat.
Yep.
That was all we had that was newborn. So he actually went home in an outfit and he was 6 pounds in an outfit that is still, he still fits today and he's 7 months tomorrow. So it was baggy on his little body.
So baggy.
And then he's in this big old car seat and it is wild.
He basically went home in a blanket.
Yeah, it was like a little gown. And yeah, so you make how many trips to the car? I don't even know. Loading us out. And then the drive home, it's how we talked about in the beginning. It's about an hour home. How was the drive home? Dads always talk about the drive home. You're at 10 and 2, eyes on the road, no radio on, full focus. Was it anything like that or were you fine? Were you not worried about us?
No, I was pretty nervous.
I was
probably the most nervous I've been in a car since like I did my driver test when I was like 16.
Really?
Yeah, because you just like going slow and you're like making sure like no one's running lights. And I mean, I still feel like right now when I'm driving with Bo in the car, I'm like, oh my God. Yeah.
It's so different. And yeah, there's a lot of caution.
But it took us a while to get home because I definitely was like, okay, it's slow and steady. I felt like, the last scene of Knocked Up when he's driving home and there's like 700 cars behind him.
Yep. And he's like, it's fine. We're not going over 15 miles per hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. It also it felt weird for me as a human to step out in clothes and be, I don't know, just be out in the world. Like you leave the hospital and it's just a weird feeling. And I don't even really remember the drive. Like it was surreal. And you're obviously in a fog going home. But another thing is we had Michelle, our dog sitter that I mentioned in the beginning, she was like, okay, I'm going to head out. Like, dogs are good. Like, they're ready. And then we're thinking, oh my gosh, we have to introduce dogs to Bo.
Mm-hmm.
So we get home and get them inside. They're in their crates. And we set Bo up on the kitchen table. And the dogs were like very curious. And obviously everyone says, oh, they sense when you're pregnant and they kind of know what's going on. But we left in such a hurry,
right?
The day before, and it was just 2 days before, 2 nights.
2 nights.
I don't know. We were there for 2 nights, I guess. Yeah.
No, well, 1 night. 1 night.
One long night. Yeah, 1 night. I don't even know. Anyways, and I don't know. They were not. I don't know. They weren't bad. They just were like, it's a lot, and they're obviously already like in another city. It's not our, and then Bo gets there and obviously he gets all of our attention. We have all these bags and there's just a lot of like, and I think I probably was like oversensitive to the situation and like thinking it was going to be this like magical moment where like they run up and they're like licking his face, and they're all like,
and they climb in the car seat, but they were going to like cuddle.
Suspect. And then we get upstairs and I think honestly, by the time we unloaded, got home, got everything upstairs, it was 10 or 11 at night.
Yep.
And so we get upstairs, like get him fed, changed, put him down in his crib, and the dogs are just staring at his crib. And I'm like, are they going to jump in there? Like, are they going to,
right?
What is happening?
Especially Rigby.
Rigby's. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, I just want them to be best friends. But it took a minute for them to adjust, but they're amazing with him now, and Rigby's obsessed with him. But it adds a different layer when you're bringing home. I don't know. I felt like it was when we brought home Rigby and Moon was looking at us like, what have you done?
Right.
This is my town. So yeah. And obviously now Bo gets a lot of attention and there's a lot of focus on him, but they're the best with him. And yeah, I don't know. It was just a wild moment that you don't know what.
I feel like Rigby even from the first night, Rigby was like, okay, like I'm the bodyguard now.
Yeah. He's like I'm
going to sit here and stand over the crib. If you guys walk out of the room and Bo's in here, like I got it. Like I'm going to stand next to the crib
when
and
you were on the road and I would get up to go to the restroom or anything, I would come back and Rigby was sitting on the side of the bed and he was just staring into the crib. Or a lot of times if Bo was out of the crib and Rigby would lay underneath it and almost like stare at the door to guard us, which I thought was like very sweet. He's a little nutty, but I thought it was very sweet. And obviously the same now, you know, like he wants to know who's getting close to him and wants to keep an eye. And I feel like
he loves them.
Yeah, he loves them. Moon's still warming up. And she's just independent, and she has been for a while. And I don't know, it's sweet. They're a cute little.
She's figuring out that if she wants more attention, she's got to come down.
Yeah.
And be around Bo to get more attention. So
yeah. And then the real treat of this whole thing was you had a flight at 6 a.m. And there's I want to say, you had to check a bag. And there's a new rule with Pearson Airport, in Toronto, where your bags are due 90 minutes before now.
Right.
And so you had to go at, I think we live.
I woke up at 4.
Yeah, we lived 9 minutes from the airport, which was nice. But you honestly, if you have that first flight, which that's a lot of the times I did that flight if we were going West Coast or somewhere, you get there, you check your bag, you have whatever global entry, and you're honestly through security in 1 minute, and then you're like, sweet, I have an hour and a half to sit here.
I know, I was so worried I was going to fall asleep
and watch the sun come up. But it was, I don't even really, like, you left and it's like, I was just so tired and everything, and you were just gone. I kept thinking, like, there's no way he's going to be gone for 10 days now. Like, it seemed like that was wild, right? Like, it seemed, I was like, oh no, so like, he'll come back. Like, he'll be like, I think my mind couldn't process that you just left and you were gone. And it was wild. And my mom was a huge help being there. And I'm sure I was supposed to rest with stitches and everything, and I just had a hard time with that. I unpacked things right when I woke up the next morning. I was unpacking everything and doing constant laundry and all that. And my mom and I had a good system of washing bottles and pump parts and getting those ready.
Did you walk the dogs that first day?
I want to say second day. Yeah, I want to say the second day.
Yeah,
I walked them. Yeah. I know. Looking back, I think my recovery was longer because I didn't rest properly, but I also there wasn't really a choice. Like I couldn't not unpack, and obviously my mom was not going to be lugging like suitcases up the stairs and all that. I maybe could have had like a task rabbit come over and help or something.
Yeah, that's what you want. Like some random person going through all your clothes and
random dude just bringing my diapers upstairs. Mine and Bo's. I don't know. I would have taken it. No, it was fine. It was actually a nice time for my mom and I, and it was sweet. And I don't know. It was sad without you being there, and I know it was tough on you to not be there to help. And I tried my best to FaceTime and send videos and photos, and
you did.
I did, but
you got them all.
Yeah, it was.
It was like, look, he's eating. Look, he's sleeping. Look, I changed his diaper.
Look at this outfit. It's massive on him. I mean, he was such a tiny little guy, and now it's wild. Everyone says don't blink. They get big really fast, and I feel like we hit that. Like in the last month, we really hit that, and it's wild. But I don't know. Off season's been nice. You've made up for all the time that you were away doing the night shift and all that.
It was funny. We were talking to Brett yesterday, and he was like, we have an off season music, and you feel like you have to like make up for the entire time you're in season. So you're doing all this stuff and you have guilt. You don't want to go do anything. He's like, I asked to go play golf, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to go play golf because I know it's going to be like double overtime when I get home. And he's like, you'll see when you go on the road. He's like, the first day, couple days, you'll miss them for sure. And then you're going to be like, oh, this is actually kind of nice to sleep in. And then it's time to go home and you're like, oh man, now I got to go back to work.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Well, and he's in it with two, and obviously very different when they're mobile and wanting to, have all this energy and get it all out and all the things that come with that. But
like it's all worth it.
The choice.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's going to do it for today's episode. A friendly reminder to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. We are on YouTube now, so you can watch us as well. And make sure you're leaving all those comments on YouTube or reviewing us if you listen on Apple or Spotify. We love seeing all of that. And thank you all so much for listening. And a reminder, our fundraiser is still live on Instagram. If you like to give or you are able to give, we are so grateful for that. Huge thank you again to all of our first responders here in LA and from everywhere that came out to show their support. We cannot thank you enough, truly.
Yeah, thank you guys. We love you, love LA, and this is our home and always will be. So we'll do anything we can to support that and hopefully be a part of this rebuild and help people get their lives back. So thank you guys.
Yes. Thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you all next time.
See ya.
Bye.
Bum 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 bum.